Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I am George. We're all George. So tonight I have a special guest. This is probably the very first. It is the very first live stream interview or just a special guest. I haven't figured this out before, but hopefully it works. I'm using a new stream software, and I have Jason Pizzino. Which I've spoken with before. I went on his channel. We had a good time. So I brought him on, and we're just going to talk all things Bitcoin, what's going around the world, the news, everything else. So let's do this. Let me get Jason. Welcome. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. I'm good. You're George. I'm Jason. Very good, mate. Thank you.
You're not George? Come on.
I am George and Jason. It just depends on the time zone. This is good.
What time is it over there in Australia?
We're clocking in at 11:40 a.m. I'm on Friday morning. You guys
okay.
get Thursday night. Yeah, Friday morning.
All right. So let's bring this up. Let's just dive right in here. Bitcoin is at $38,000. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying. I'm trying to correlate Bitcoin's movement with Bitcoin options expiration, which happens tomorrow for at least those of us in the US. For you, I think it may be in a few hours. I remember it's like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. here. So Bitcoin options. First of all, what do you know about options? And what do you know about this Max Pain theory? Do you know anything about it?
No. You know me. I look at charts and then look at the volume, which I don't see any volume on your chart. And I was surprised that you even got a chart out when we came online. I was like, what are you doing with charts?
Here's one.
Oh, good. And I call it colored candles for my guys. I say we get the colored candle crayons out for the children because it's the default setting. So a lot of them say that they want color. They're like, your charts are so boring. I'm like, that's because I trade off them. I don't use them just to enjoy myself.
Well, there's some people. There's some people with some crazy indicators like circle Fibonacci's and stuff like that. It looks like you're in a universe or something like that, or a galaxy.
It's to hypnotize you. It's just there to hypnotize you. Yeah. You're like, wow, I'm gonna find something in this if I look hard enough.
So you don't follow options. You don't follow this Max Pain theory at all.
No, right? No. I think there's something to it, but because I focus on one thing and I just do that as best as I can, then I don't normally have time for all these. But I am very interested to hear about the Max Pain theory and see if we can find something else in it. What's this theory?
All right, so Max Pain. So let me zoom in here. So those of us that's been in it for a while, and I think you have been in the game for quite some time, you know that the last Friday of every month, there's some kind of movement. Traditionally, I think we see some downward pressure, but there's also times where it's good that Bitcoin rallies. But there's something about the last week of every month, usually. And before, it was credited to CME futures expiration, because that's the last Friday is when everything settles. But for the last few months, people pointed out that, hey, there's options too. And I've started looking into options, and options is just as significant, if not more. Actually, I think more if you look at the volume. You look at all these contracts, we're talking about billions upon billions upon billions upon billions. So you add all this up, I don't know the total figure, is probably over 10 billion in volume. And with options, there's a thing called Max Pain, where this is the point where Bitcoin reaches, it causes the max pain and wrecks basically the calls and the puts and the people that are basically long and short. This is where all sides get wrecked. And sure enough, the last month, and I believe the month before that, Bitcoin just exactly hit that max pain price. No matter how off it was, like I remember last month in April, we were like several thousand off, and then it just hit it like right at that expiration time. And it just seems like things are being controlled that way. So that's why I was pointing out that max pain for tomorrow is at 50,000. We're under 40,000. It seems like a far stretch, but I'm still anticipating maybe something drastic happens between now and tomorrow, but who knows? Maybe we miss it. It's not a sure thing, but this is what I've been talking about and been observing. So
what is meant to happen on a max pain? Just the price shoots up to the price point?
Yeah, but this is one of those months where the max pain is higher than the current price. We have, like last month, for example, the max pain was lower, and Bitcoin actually took a dramatic dive down to hit that max pain price. So this is one of the occasions where actually it's higher than where we are.
I mean, I wouldn't expect the price not to shoot up from here. It's something that we've been looking at, but I'm not saying shoot so far up. I got my targets, which I talk about on the channel as well, is at around the 44K. We really want to see the price close above 44,900. So call it 45K if you want, a nice round number there. And that's my 50% zone of the current range. So that's like my major range at the moment. I've got a bigger one, but that's the major one. So if we get there, that's a good start to the bullish side. So I just look at 50% and keep it easy. Max pain at 50K, look, that comes in at the previous resistance and support levels. What are you seeing up there? Oh, you don't have the chart, but
no, I don't have the chart here. So what were you saying? About 45 or 44.2? You said
around 45K. Yeah,
yeah,
it's obviously going to depend. Yeah, so that's a halfway point between the current low, major low, and then the current top before we crashed. So not the major all-time high, but the top in mid-May. So the top's around 59.5K. So call it 60, call the bottom 30, halfway's at 45K. And halfway are important points. So that's basically where I'm looking at, just something simple.
So do you have a timeline or time frame of when Bitcoin should hit it, or it doesn't matter? You're just waiting for it to hit it?
It honestly doesn't matter, but people love to know what prices are going to be at the end of a month. And I always say to people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time. It's like, what is your goal? Do you want to make X amount of money? Then focus on that. You're not worried about what is it in the month. If you got to pay bills, then you're in the wrong game. And I'm a little bit more harsh, which is why I come on your channel and you soften me out a little bit. But that's what I say. Like, you're wasting your time if that's what you're aiming for. You know,
I've been hearing. Go ahead.
I just count days. I count days to make it nice and simple. We do day counts. So from that top to the bottom is 9 days, and then I look at multiples of around that 9 to 10 days, because that is what information the market has given me. The market says we like around this 10-day sort of move at the moment. So let's multiply that out or divide it into halves.
So I've heard from other TA guys, experts that say rather than 45K, they're looking at like 42K, somewhere around here being the turning point, whether or not Bitcoin can break up or breaks back down to 30. What do you think about that? Do you think the same thing at 45? If Bitcoin can't break 45, that it's going to retrace back down to like 30, or do you think it's just going to kind of hover? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, 42 is the first level because that's a shorter term time frame. So it's just like, what are we looking at? You know, are we investing long term or short term? So if you're wanting to trade, which is short term, then yeah, I'll be looking at 42 because 42 is another 50% level of a smaller range, which I'm looking at. But it's a shorter term time frame. So we might get a little hit, we might drop a couple of grand. You know, the next swing low is yesterday's pricing, which is 37,200. We break through this 42, then I'd say, look, our next level that we're looking for is at 45. So, you know, I'm just looking at bigger time frames because I'm more of a macro trader when it comes to this. I just want to buy low and sell it high, or cover my position at higher prices.
Me too, except I don't rely on the charts. I still I look at macro factors, external factors, fundamentals, but so
I'll teach you the charts. It's very easy.
It's very easy.
The big term time frame stuff is much easier. The day-to-day stuff is what throws everyone out. It's like, you know, the other big channels where we're looking at hourly charts or 4 hourly charts, and it's like, what's going to happen next hour? And it's like, why does that even matter when we're trading for 12 months from now or 3 years from now? The hourly stuff doesn't really matter on a big picture.
So this would be what you would consider longer time frame, right? Something like this.
Yeah. A lot more data involved.
Yeah, I remember. I still remember back in March of last year, because Bitcoin has been pretty consistent, staying within this channel here. And then right here, you could see that Bitcoin broke below, and people like freaked out and said, "This is the end for Bitcoin." Right. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And then, it recovered, and no one remembers that anymore. But I just found that funny before.
Well, that's the times that I think may be coming. I'm not saying we're going to break down and get destroyed like that, but in those times, no one wanted to buy. And then looking back at your chart in, when we were around here, when no one was listening as well, there was no views on YouTube. 2019 through that low in January, February, March, there was it was like crickets. No one was listening.
Right.
Yeah. And I think if that happens again now, then it's going to be the same thing. Most people will take off. They'll get bored. It's summertime. The old saying, sell in May, go away. People get bored. Their prices aren't going up 50% a day. And then they'll come back when the price is past 60,000 again. And that's just the way the market is. So that's why I say to my guys, like, stick around. Don't worry. You don't have to watch me. Go watch George. Just have a routine every day. Stay with the market. You don't have to be in it, but just stay with it so that you're getting the feel of what's going on.
So let's talk about let's change subjects here.
Yeah. I'm getting too technical into my investment head.
My audience is like losing interest because I don't talk about TA this much.
Let's talk about whatever.
Let's talk about something that we could all discuss. So apparently, ARK's Cathie Wood went on Consensus and talked about how Elon, or I like to call him Elon because a-hole plus Elon equals Elon. She blames him for the current crash. That Bitcoin fell from like 55 down to 30. She blames him for that, and she believes, and actually according to her, that a lot of institutions paused their buying because of what he said, because of environmental concerns. What do you think about that?
I think that that's probably right, but what, like, I don't want to get too into that space of, I looked for it in terms of investing. I want to make money from the space. I love the space and I want it to go on forever. I love this because it's probably what caused it at the time, but I look at cycles. And so a cycle, we were due for a top. We were well and truly due for a top. And all it takes is one thing to just knock us down. And at the right time, it gets us. And this was perfect. You got Bris Vegas up there. Hello, Bris Vegas.
Wait, where do you see Vegas?
The one you clicked on, Elon hashtag.
Yeah.
Hashtag Elon. Do you know what Bris Vegas is?
No, I don't know who he is. I'm just randomly clicking on comments.
It's what we call Brisbane here. Brisbane
really?
is a city. I'm from Brisbane, yeah, but they call it Bris Vegas because it's so boring. Whereas Las Vegas it's a play on words. Las Vegas is the place to be. Bris Vegas is the boring crap hole of Australia. No, it's not that bad, but yeah.
Interesting.
You got nothing to say. That's fine. It's a little place close to home. I'm in the Gold Coast, but yeah.
I do have a lot of Australians watching me, so that
you do?
Yeah, I do.
This time works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why either, but we're still here. Cathie Ark, look, I think it's a good thing. It probably is the case that it's Elon, but I just see it as timing. If this news came out in February, it wouldn't have had an effect on the market like it is right now, because the market was in an uptrend, solid uptrend. We were rounding over that top into May, we were hitting a top. I remember we were talking, it was like, Bitcoin should be going up from here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sold yet. I need to see it break $60,500. I committed to that because it's what I understood. Didn't break that, and we were down. And then the news just compounds on the bearish side of the cycle. So it's going to come back, but this is a good time because this is old news. It's old as hell news. And this is like buy opportunity. Very big buy opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. It's a gift. Yeah. It's basically a gift, right? But newcomers, for those of us that's been in it for a while, we've been through this. And even though people exaggerate, this is like the worst crash we've ever seen and so forth. No, we have seen crashes like this before, and even during bull runs. So the name of the game, especially if you're focusing on a long term, is you buy low and you sell high, right? So when things are discounted 50, 60, 70% from just 2 weeks ago, when nothing changed, really, fundamentals didn't change, that's a good buying opportunity, right?
Totally. That's what I saw on the day as well. I'm like, I think I laughed on my live stream when people told me what it was about. It's like, oh, it's not green enough. I'm like, we've been through this in 2017, 2018. Right. Then there was another thing. Oh, China was banning it. And I laughed at that. I'm like, China's already banned it. And then we found out that's old news, people just recycling this stuff. And as the market begins to figure that out, then the prices are up. And that's when the sheep follow. And everyone's like, oh, I feel safer again. I feel all warm and fuzzy. And everyone else is buying. So how about I buy? And it's like, hey, let's just whack you guys back down again, dump the price on you because you haven't learned your lesson. Buy low, sell high.
So piggybacking off of this, there was a lot of controversy based on this. Michael Saylor took it upon himself to form a mining council, a secret meeting with the mining council, basically all miners within North America. And this was not well received. People did not like this at all. The comments are like, hey, we don't need any secret council to Bitcoin, right? But it seems like Michael is just trying to do it to please Elon and alleviate his concerns. So what do you think about this?
I mean, I don't see any problems with it. What are the main concerns that people have with Michael Saylor putting together some sort of mining council?
Because people think that it doesn't need to be a secret. Why didn't they just openly say, hey, we're doing this? We're getting together. We're going to form a council, be transparent about how we're going to go green and how we're using energy. The fact that they
how is it a secret?
Secret.
They said yesterday I was pleased to host a meeting. Okay, so the fact that they didn't tell people before they were hosting a meeting.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't think that's why is that even a concern? He's telling you the next day, and sometimes people don't need to know. I love anonymity, but sometimes people just, especially on Twitter, man, they're just freaking crybabies about anything. And if they want to have a whinge or something and, just play the whole game, then I don't really see a problem. Look, if they want to keep doing the mining, great. If they want to do it, it's not even in secret. They tell you the next day.
I could tell, like, this is like new news to you, right? Like, did you not hear about this before?
No, I'm literally like charts, and I just watch the chart. I'm like, something's going on here. Something's talking about the news, and you know it before you see it in the news. And then once the news happens, you're like, oh, that explains why this was happening. But I saw it before the news came out, and that's just the chart.
All right. So
I love chatting with you. I love chatting with you because you're so on the news and I'm so on the chart.
You got to pay attention to what's going on, right? Unless let me ask you this. Do you believe that everything that we're seeing is driven by charts only? Is that why you don't pay attention to the news?
No, not at all. What we're seeing is driven by events, but the public will always see the event after it's happened.
Right.
Always. Yeah. There's so few occasions that they won't see it beforehand. So the only way that you see it before it comes out in the news is on the chart. That's like the premise of the Wyckoff method. It's the whales, the big money is playing in the market. They have to move the market. They have to, if people dropping off, we can change subject. But that's basically the premise of how it works. Because they have to move the market, so you see the buying action in the market, and it creates patterns.
Yeah.
Then later, yeah.
But yeah, I get that, because whatever event that triggered the movement already happened. I know that. But if you don't pay attention to the news, then you don't even know what event occurred, right? Or
do I need to know?
That's irrelevant?
It's almost irrelevant. It's nice to understand what's going on, so that's for sure. But it's almost irrelevant if you can see what they're doing before they're doing it or while they're doing it. Then you're in front of the news, and then the news just explains what the chart has already showed you.
So what about? But then, if you go by that premise, you can't find like. Do you ever do research ahead of time to see like, hey, maybe you can find some correlation that the news or anyone else hasn't found, or something that may be triggering an event that's coming up?
Yeah, I think that comes down to more like fundamental research rather than the news. So, you're looking at, say, like you're trying to piece together something to do with options and futures contracts expiring, and then that might have something to do with short squeezes in the market somewhere else. We're seeing volume come off exchanges. Like piecing that sort of stuff together is more around like the data and fundamentals. So that makes a little more sense than Michael Saylor like having a private meeting with some miners. Like that doesn't really mean anything to the market. That's the way I read it.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna disagree with that. Maybe not short term, but long term, I think this is gonna have an impact on the market, especially if they do. Seems like they're working together, and they are trying to promote, or they're at least they're trying to be more transparent in terms of how they're going to be using energy, and who knows, this could be the start of some kind of relationship with Elon and using solar and battery cells and stuff like that, right? So it may not be like something that we see in the next week or so, but maybe 6 months or 12 months from now, we could see something really come from this, right? At least that's where I'm going.
And I agree with that when it comes to news, because then that sort of moves into fundamental. It's like, how is that fundamentally changing Bitcoin? So I agree with you on that. But in terms of like, do I need to know about it short term? Like, not at all. But in terms of piecing together a long-term picture, I agree. Yeah.
All right. So I have the super chat up, and we'll give a shout out to Samantha, and I can't pronounce that last name, so I'm not gonna try. But there we go. Hey, Samantha.
There must be some sort of silent G in there. Tenalia.
That's probably right.
Sounds
Tenalia.
Italian. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm horrible with names. I really butcher names. So moving forward. So first of all, I'm just going to like criticize Dave Lee for a second, even though most people probably don't know who he is. Dave Lee is like some financial guy that has his own channel. And I remember he was getting into crypto. This was when my channel was banned. So my channel was banned for like 4 months. And it took forever to get it back.
Last year?
Yes, last year. And, I had to stream on Twitch, and I had to stream on D-Live and Facebook and Periscope. But, they just don't work the same way as YouTube. But I remember Dave Lee back in the day was saying, hey, I want to talk to people to talk about Bitcoin. And I'm like, hey, I'll come on your show, right? And then he was just being real cocky about it and never brought me on. So I don't like the guy. I don't like the guy at all. And he might be related to Charlie Lee too. Maybe that's why, runs in a family.
Hey, come on, not all Asians are the same, man. Come on.
So I was going to ask you, what do you think about, again, since we're on the subject of Elon, what do you, I don't know if you have any opinion. What do you think about him trying to help Doge move forward? Like, look at this tweet. He likes to get people to actually submit ideas and help Doge develop further. What do you think about that? Why do you think he's so into Dogecoin?
I watched that thing that little interview he had with like TMZ, I think it is, and people asking him why is he so into Doge, and he just said, wouldn't it just be funny if the meme became the real thing?
Right. And
Yeah.
you think that's the only reason?
Yeah. I think that's a big reason for him. It's the meme, and if it was to overtake Bitcoin and became the real people's coin, that for Elon would just be like amazing. I think that's his kind of humor, that gets him off.
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
This doesn't take too much of his time. He puts out a tweet, people just start working underneath him, and he gets stuff done now because of his status. So, I mean, look, if Doge happened, I wouldn't be sad. I don't have any Doge at the moment, but
I was gonna ask, do you hold any Doge?
no, I just trade it. Like, I watch the Doge BTC chart. When it hits lows, I just buy up as much as I feel is comfortable. And then when it shoots up 4-5x against the BTC chart, just sell it. And I missed this massive, massive run, but it's the only time it's ever happened. Previously, it was just like, it's pretty safe to buy it at 15 to 30 Satoshis, and then sell it between 80 and 120. You get your return, you move on.
What do you think about other meme coins like Shiba and stuff that came out after Doge's rise?
Just Ponzi schemes. Fun. Okay. It's like lottery tickets. We needed a way to enjoy finance, and that's just a way to gamble. People love gambling. I honestly love gambling. What do you think of them? What does your audience think of them?
I don't know about my audience, but I'm very against them. People ask me about Shiba. I refuse to talk about it because I don't want to give them any attention at all. I get pitched. I'm sure you do too. I get pitched every single day about some new deflationary token that is better than Doge, that's better than Shiba, that's better than SafeMoon, and it's just left and right. And eventually people are going to get burned by these. So I don't even want to give them any attention, but just want to.
Honestly, I think they're going to get burnt by anything. It's like the student is looking for a lesson, and they want to be taught a lesson wherever the hell it is. So it's going to be in Bitcoin. It's going to be anywhere. They're just going to get burnt because that's what they're waiting for. Like I said, I love talking with you because I'm harsh and you're kind.
Hey, do you see that super chat on the screen there?
Yeah, it says, Jason, can you give Jojo Shaw Show a shout out?
Yes.
Is that the shout out now? Cool.
Okay, I guess that counts as a shout out.
All right. If you never see me on George's show again, this is why.
All right. Well, Harmony Pump after Matic. To answer that real quick, I think a EVM compatible chain like Harmony. I think many view it as a cheaper version of Matic. So I do think it'll come up, and even a cheaper version of Harmony is like Phantom. And I hate to say I'm cheaper, meaning they're less good. Not in that way. I'm just in terms of price, but obviously with Matic.
Do you mean like the price of the coin or the function on the network?
The market cap, the overall market cap.
Oh, overall market cap. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's another thing people get confused on is, people will ask me, hey, can Doge or XRP get to $50,000 like Bitcoin? And the answer is no, because the market cap would be like $100 trillion plus, right? I think people get confused on how market cap is actually calculated, but I usually just look at market cap. I don't even really talk about the price of the token.
Totally. Yeah. I saw some other videos come up with XRP, and it's like XRP to $589 or something. I'm like, you got any idea how big that market cap would be? No idea.
I had the biggest debates with XRP guys back in the day, and they're all their butts are hurt because they don't want to hear the rationale why XRP can't get to $589. They just refuse to hear it. But these days, they kind of either stop paying attention to my channel or they just stop believing that. But like back in 2017, man, you cannot argue with the XRP army.
It's funny that we haven't seen a massive pump from XRP in this cycle yet. It didn't even it only barely made it to halfway to its old all-time high. And it just starts to deflate against Bitcoin value as well. Like, I think it's losing that big army steam. There's just so many more meme coins for people to get into.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I mean, the SEC lawsuit, which I think will be settled soon. I think when that happens, they will get an enormous pump.
Yeah.
But I'm quite surprised they have pumped at all after being sued, because they dropped down to like 20 something cents. And now they're like hovering 130, 150. So, I mean, that's still pretty darn impressive. Oh, no, actually, I take that back.
It dropped under $1.
Yeah. But, wow, they actually fell down very, very hard.
It dropped solidly, which I guess just brings people's attention back to it. It's like, wow, it's under $1. Can this thing get to $100? Yeah, it's 100x. Yeah, that'd have to be a what, a $4 trillion market cap, $4.5 trillion market cap. Yeah, and old mate's still selling. That's news that you need to know. That's information about the project. Jed McCaleb. Yeah, does he still sell like $100 million worth of XRP a day?
He's limited to how much he can sell per day. I don't think it's 100 million. He gets a certain amount every quarter, but even every day, I think he's limited to a certain amount, and it's like some kind of percentage, and I don't know what it is, but yeah, he still continues to sell. And here's the thing: I hate to spend so much time on XRP, but people don't realize the business model for Ripple is to sell XRP. They onboard someone that's supposedly going to use XRP for cross-border payments. And how do they get that XRP? They buy it from Ripple. They don't buy it from the exchanges. They buy it from Ripple. So Ripple is in the business of releasing more tokens, which they have more than 55% of the total supply. That's how Ripple makes money. And people don't realize that. Like that releases more supply into circulation, and then XRP army guys will argue, well, you got so many people that's going to be buying XRP to use it all the time. Well, the problem is there's not that many people that's buying to use it, right? So over time, there is more that's flooding the market. But the good thing is there is a set supply. So eventually it's going to stop. But right now, there's still a lot being dumped on the market.
And that's what all these Ponzi scheme coins have, I think, hurt XRP this cycle. Obviously the SEC thing, but you can get into SafeMoon, deflationary, it's all out there. 10% gets burned, and 2% gets given to you. There's penalties for selling. And so people who once were XRP because it was only low priced coin, now there's just so many to choose from with better marketing.
Yeah.
So they're fighting in a bigger space now.
So let's move on. Let me bring you to the big boys. The big boys that are joining the fun. And I'm talking about guys like Carl Icahn and banks. Well, first of all, Carl wants to put in about 1.5 billion into the market. He's at up to 1 to 1.5 billion. And also we have the big boys like Goldman Sachs that declares Bitcoin as new asset class because they want to basically sell it to their wealth investors. And also JP Morgan is coming out with their Bitcoin fund, which they will recommend to their wealth clients too. So what are your general thoughts on these big guys coming into the space? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, we want money into it. So in that case, if we want the price to go up, it's a good thing. That's like that simple. What do you think? Are you class as a good or a bad?
Money coming in is good, except if you look at what some of these guys have done after they enter a market, it's not so good. For example, here, JP Morgan settles a record settlement to resolve spoofing against silver for like a decade, right? So I think this is the concern that, they may be bringing money in, but will they be manipulating the market afterwards, right? Especially someone like Carl Icahn, who's notorious for doing such things.
Do you not think that happens without them?
I do think it happens without them, but it can happen more with them. That's the thing.
I think it can happen just as much without them, except now we just have more money in the space. Now we have more money, and it's the bigger money playing the same game that the smaller money played. You remember like 2017, if this starts to bore people, you let me know and we move on. But 2017 was all the pump and dump. ICOs and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was the same thing, like literally exactly the same what these guys are doing. They bring out a coin, talk it up. They all hold big bags. Everyone buys it up. It shoots up, and they start dumping on the public with their bags, and then they do the same thing again. It doesn't get too far down. They hype it up again. They just keep sucking as much as they can out of it. It's just like it's the same game.
It is and it isn't. Don't you think that after that ICO craze, right now, at least investors that were from 2017, they're more savvy now. They're not going to be inclined to just put in money into every single hype coin that comes out on the market, right? Maybe new retail investors coming in will do that, but at least the ones that's been in it will stop doing that, right? And that kind of pump and dump is different than some of these big guys like billionaires and banks with billions and billions of liquidity. They come in, and if they try to disrupt what's going on, it's much easier for these guys to do than like start a project that's trying to do a pump and dump. I think it's a little bit different.
What about the space that they're playing in? Like these guys aren't playing in the small ones; they're playing in the big ones.
Yeah, but most altcoins are still coupled to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin takes a drastic dive, like we've seen, altcoins still follow, right?
Whales could play Bitcoin in 2017, whereas whales can't really play Bitcoin now. Now it's like you got to be in the billions of dollars to be moving the thing around.
Yeah.
Whereas whales back then was like what you could have in the tens of millions, and you could be moving it because it was tens to hundreds of millions, which wasn't uncommon.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. I just see it as the same game. Is it good? Of course not. But again, you're into the space and it's great. There's heaps of new people here. And so now they're getting exposed to it from channels like yours and other YouTube, which are understanding that, yes, things can be manipulated. But as long as you don't like get on some crybaby bandwagon and just say, oh, these guys are terrible and they're always going to screw the industry. It's like, and you're aware of it, then, you're in front anyway.
Interesting.
The game. They dump it to 30K, buy some.
Right.
Just have patience. The fear. Do you look at the fear and greed index?
I do, but it changes so fast, so often that it's not really that valuable. I bring it up once in a while.
All right. Not fair enough. I was just going to look at that a bit. Yeah.
Let me give a big hi to Frank and Jenna from New Orleans. Welcome. What else is there? Brendan asked about, are you saying Wall Street goons and billionaires are going to screw us over? No way. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to make conversation with Jason here. I'm just trying to have a conversation. That's not what I'm saying at all.
I thought I'd keep shutting down your conversation. That's why I'm like,
no, that's fine. That's why I'm purposely phrasing these questions so that we could actually have a conversation. Otherwise, we just say, yeah, I agree. And then we move on. And there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah. What else you got up there? I see a few more articles. This is good because I'm getting up to speed with my news for the day.
I don't really have anything. I showed this as a long-term thing, right? I knew kind of like, I brought this up. I kind of knew where to go here. And something else that's longer term stock to flow. What do you think about this? Do you believe in this?
I don't not believe in it. I'm just like not sure how I really need to use this. You know what I mean? Like it can make me feel good and be like, all right, we're not over yet. But,
right.
How do you use it?
Well, I just view it as one of those long-term kind of charts. It's not really a chart, but it is a model that has worked so far in terms of projecting where Bitcoin will go. I believe this was derived from something that was charting like the price of like precious metals like gold and stuff, and it's been revamped to basically chart Bitcoin. And so far, it's been pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the bottom one at the bottom where it's got green and red? Green is oversold, so good time to buy, and red is overbought.
Yeah, this is more like almost like RSI basically. I don't really follow the bottom. I don't know what this is actually. It's some kind of moving average. I don't know what this is actually tracking, but this is tracking basically the how much Bitcoin is flowing out into market versus what exists already. So obviously, with the halving event, with Bitcoin getting more scarce every 4 years, the supply decreases and so forth. So, yeah, it's just I don't, because this is such a long-term thing. You could see that recently with our dip, it barely shows up over here, right? So unless we have such a drastic drop where, let's say, Bitcoin falls to $10,000, which I don't think is going to happen, right? Then we really deviate from this and come back down like over here. But right now, you could see it's right on track. This really will not even be noticeable once we start moving upwards again, right? That's how I look at this.
Yeah, I think we're fine with that. The way I look, not necessarily this, but that bottom one, I think that could be used. So the green and the red could be used with some other chart to give you a bit of a, a buy signal, and then that just helps you buy the dip or dollar cost average in at better prices. So like dollar cost averaging in around the 50s and 60s was just, it didn't feel right and it didn't look right. So that's why I wasn't talking about buying Bitcoin at those times. That was like the speculative time where everything was going crazy. But if I look at, say, the fear and greed, then match that with dips and percentage losses, and then I look at my risk reward from where we currently are and how far down I believe it, Bitcoin could go, then I see this as one of the better times to be buying Bitcoin. Even if it takes another 3 to 6 months, 12 months, whatever, I'm looking at probably 3 to 6 months beneath the old all-time high. This is the time that I'm dollar cost averaging in like fresh money into Bitcoin, whereas I hadn't put any money into Bitcoin on the way up.
So let me ask you about that. But before I get to that, here's a big super chat. You recently reviewed OVR, the metaverse tied to real Earth, built on Ethereum. Can you look at the chart? Looks like a bottom AR narrative. Yeah, I'm not gonna look at the chart, but I will say that if you look at a chart at a lot of altcoins, they all seem like they bottomed, okay? Because they've all crashed 50, 60, 70% from top. So I remember OVR. It's like a virtual world, like a augmented reality kind of thing. It looks interesting, but there's a lot of plays like that. A lot of gaming, NFT kind of stuff that looks really cool, but the market is really saturated. So just be careful on that one. All right. So going back to you, Jason, I wanted to ask you. So this is like the ultimate question. This is $1 million question. What makes you think that the bull run is still going? What would make you change your mind in terms of you think that the bull run is done and we're going to flip down?
I need to see a few things. I need to see a breakdown and a hold beneath these major lows, and then also break down underneath the 20K. So we got the all-time high break, and then we got a 30K low in as well. Right. So you got I go to like a weekly chart as well because I'm a bit more, I look like longer term.
Yes.
Yeah, and just take it off log for a second. Yeah, so we got this low in here. See how this weekly low, the big red candle that was last week.
Right.
Yeah, and we got massive volume on that.
Right.
The volumes. Yeah, so that so far is good support. That's the biggest volume we have seen come back into the market. So if we happen to break down from that, then that begins to worry me. But overall, I think we might have like a longer sideways period. So the next breakdown is then back at the old all-time highs, because that would then signal that the market sentiment has definitely changed.
So you're saying if there was no bounce from here, this was another red candle going down, then that would make you feel that the bull market is over?
Yeah, because we would break down past the 50%. 50% levels are pretty important in a market. I've got a couple of videos on that as well, just going through and showing like all of the 50%. Current 50% from the major range is at around $34,000. So that is a very strong level. Well, I wouldn't say strong. It's a key level that we need to see hold long term.
So what made you come up with this 50%? Is it a Fibonacci level or what?
Yeah, it's not mine. It's Gann. So Gann is another trader from the early 1900s. We got Wyckoff from back then, and they were the real geniuses that came up with this stuff. Like they were researching charts their entire lives by hand, pencil and paper, teams of dozens of people eventually when they became famous. I think Gann even has his statue up in Wall Street. You know, like he was that good. So these guys understood charts and what 50% meant. So that's where that comes from. And 50% isn't a fib level, but it's on our Fibonacci tool. Fibs are, you know, like your 38s and 61s and etc. Yeah, Gann used 50, 25%, 75%, 62.5. So the 62.5 is so close to 61.8. You know, same.
So hypothetically speaking, let's say tomorrow, starting from tomorrow on, we break back down to 30. And some people have stated that we might break down to 28 or even worse to 20,000 or right here, this green line, 19.5. Does that change your thesis? Does that change the fact that you no longer believe we're in a bull market?
Only if we remain down there, because we know with cryptocurrency that it can spike and then bounce back pretty hard. Like that's just part of the illiquidity of crypto. But if we broke down and then it remained down here and just couldn't break above, then it's like, yeah, I have to say we're sideways for a longer period of time, and I'm not going to get like too excited about things, except that a lot of people will leave, which gives us another better buying opportunity again, and we go back to an accumulation phase. Everyone leaves, which is the best time to be buying, and we start the second leg of the cycle.
So if that happened, if we started a new bear cycle, it basically breaks the tradition of a 4-year cycle where the last year is very bullish. So in your scenario, if that happened, do we then go and start the new 3-year cycle where it's just bearish, or do you think it could turn back to the bull cycle in 2021?
I need to see more data, you know, but I would be buying at those lower levels. But I don't believe, like, I definitely subscribe to, do you know Bob Lucas?
Yeah.
The 4-year, yeah. So he's great. But even he says it's not going to go on forever. Like, we're not going to have a 4-year cycle forever. You know, this might be the last one. Maybe we saw it, but there's no sure thing that we see a 4-year cycle every year just because of Bitcoin halving. I think it's pretty much nonsense, because it's news that everyone already knows. And so you would play to that news already, and everyone's already playing to it. So then that just starts to fall into the cycle. So instead of a 4-year, maybe we do a 6-year leg. Maybe we do an 8-year leg. You know, nothing remains like that, but we have cycles within cycles. So maybe we're in a longer term 8-year cycle or a longer term 10-year cycle, you know?
I agree with that from the perspective of, I think we've talked about this offline before about a super cycle because of the big boys coming in and buying and holding, right? But I mean, just from a chart perspective, you know that we had the last halving in May, right? It was like mid or late May, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at this chart, guess when Bitcoin started to move? Starting from June on, right? So is that a coincidence that it just so happened that it started to move after May, even though everyone knew that the halving event was going to come in May? And we even had this beforehand, right? Like, a lot of people thought Bitcoin is dead when it fell back down to 3,800 back in March of last year. But we recovered. Yeah. And I don't think anyone expected us to do this shortly afterwards, right? Even though it took some months, but still it started gaining momentum and so forth after the halving event. So you don't believe that the halving event will have a significant, you know, bearing?
In the short term, maybe. Because it hasn't a bearing for new people, for sure, because they hear it for the first time and they go, wow, deflationary, less things on the market, it has to go up. but then they're generally not the ones with the most money that are playing with it. So that then can become a move up because you got short-term money coming in, small money, and then people can just dump on it. I look at the chart and you can just look back at, I think it's like December, and we're having this little bottom happening. Oh, sorry, December of 2019.
19.
Yeah, it's just that little like WM looking thing. Yeah. And we started going up from that, and people thought that was the bottom.
Right.
They were thinking that was the bottom, and we started to trend up from that point. And then all of the news of the halving was coming then, because it was January, February. You remember that in the news, it was like Bitcoin halving's coming up soon, and we had already just seen Litecoin halving, which spiked the price and then dumped entirely. No
one really cares about Litecoin, just so you know.
I know. I definitely don't. It's a 4-year or whatever, 2-year downtrend against Bitcoin. I think it's like a 4-year downtrend. Like you've lost like 80-90% of your Bitcoin value.
It's really like a 11-year downtrend. It has never really recovered.
Never.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had that, and then we had the crash in COVID, and it bounced back, and we sort of got back to a projected level of the market moving in that direction.
But here's the thing. Let me counter that, because people expected that the halving event was coming, so it started going up, right? But that this was not natural. And this was beyond just a whale push. This was when Dow and stock market, broader market, bonds, everything crashed because of COVID fears, right? So had this not happened, right, we could have seen Bitcoin do something like this instead, where it did this. I mean, it took a few months, but had we not had a pandemic, you don't think that maybe this would have just rose up faster?
I don't know if it would have rose up faster,
or just because all together. Yeah.
Well, think maybe it just went up naturally. Think about it like a rubber band. We had this huge event that just like took everyone out, just destroyed everything. So it's like a rubber band. It just shot off. We pulled it back heaps, and then it flung back the other way, and that's where we got this huge run up to 60K so quickly. It did fling to the middle again, and then just took off.
Right.
So we had big volatility, I think, due to COVID, to that crash. Otherwise, maybe we were in a nice comfortable uptrend. But that brought a lot of attention. Bitcoin going back to 3,000 or 4,000, bring some more eyeballs, and then we just like tapering sideways, got a nice breakout above 10.5K, retest, and then we're off.
Yeah, I mean, this was certainly a slingshot. I mean, we literally did 6x within what, 6 months? That's amazing for Bitcoin, and all coins are like 10x, 20x, 100x. There's a lot of projects. Hey, before I get into altcoins, let me answer some super chats real quick. Sarah,
I'll tell people to like your stream up in the meantime if they're not liking it. I don't know if you do that. I'm like the damn thing.
Because I've told Rand this too. Likes don't actually help the algorithm. That stopped a long time ago. So it just makes people feel good to hit the like, but it doesn't really help the algorithm. Have you invested in Feed token? No.
Yeah.
I don't know what Feed is. Support ETH, someone says. Yes. Okay, I agree with that. Massive inverse head and shoulders on Polygon. All right, this is for you, Jason. You know Polygon? You better know Polygon.
Of course I know. I know Matic.
Okay. So what's this huge inverse, if this comes up?
What are we on though?
This is on the
We're
1
looking
hour.
At
this is on 1 hour.
Yeah, that
like
go to a 4. Yeah, I can see the inverse that he's talking about there. Go to the 4 hour or the 1 day, because we want to see it on a longer term time frame.
4 hour, and this is 1 day.
Yeah. So one day
doesn't really look like it.
Not really. Yeah. So you need to go to a 4 hour or a 12 hour probably. So maybe it's not going to be as big of a move, but Polygon has definitely recovered more than anything else. That was one that I couldn't repeat this trade. And I was saying to people, look, Polygon's a fantastic project. Nothing as a project. In terms of knowing to buy it at that low, I don't know, apart from it being a fantastic project, I don't have a trade in there. But yeah, 200%. is solid move up.
235% within 2 days. That's insane.
I know. I say it to him, I'm like, did you buy the low? Did you sell the top? Because now it's not a 230% trade. Most people, obviously, we all don't buy the exact low and sell the exact top. But it looks good. That volume on the way up. And what I'll be looking at there is if it can hold those tops. So the see that little cluster of candles just before this petering down?
Yeah.
Go.
Right here?
Yeah. It's like, oh no, that's the volume. Go up to the candles. Yeah. To your right. No, to your right.
This?
A little next. No, up.
Are you talking about up or down?
No. It's I'm going to look at it on my chart and then I'll tell you where it is.
All right.
I'd say as long as it can hold on that $1.90, then yeah, we're looking that cluster of them there around that $1.80 to $1.90. Yeah. And then we like, this is like a build up zone. Now this is getting to a build up point. I was talking to a friend. So this is like your fundamental stuff, like what's going on.
Right.
And I think Matic it was on FTX at the moment. It's like one of the most heavily shorted cryptos. So you kind of go back to that GameStop theory of if things are trying to be heavily shorted, then we get that short squeeze where it just takes off. Yeah. So that's potentially what we're looking at here.
That makes sense because it also fell down the hardest from peak. Right?
Yeah.
Matic went on a crazy run. So you could see from peak, it fell down 74%. That's way more than anything else. But then it quickly recovered 235%, basically back to its previous high. Not quite there yet. It's a little bit lower. But yeah,
which is important.
Amazing.
Yeah. Important to note that it's a little bit higher because that can become a lower swing top. So we're not out of it yet. And I would just play that as a breakout trade. I'd want to see a breakout of those highs at 240 as a confirmation to the upside. And then you still have the $2.70 to get through. But this is looking like a better setup. It has shorter swings to it, but if we get that squeeze on the shorter term time frame of the 4 hour, then that's probably not such a bad trade. But I wouldn't just be buying it like here in the hopes that we break out because the volume is tapering off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what other, let's just end it with this. What other, well, let's just say, do you have any favorite holds or do you just trade based on what the charts look like?
Oh, yeah, no, my holds, because I keep it easy, it's just like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I did have Zen, but I sold out of all of that. That was a big long hold. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a bigger position of Solana, and then I will build something in Matic. So
okay.
Chainlink. I'm looking through your list there. Chainlink, I have DOT, I have Uni. They're not like as big as my Bitcoin Ethereum, but Bitcoin Ethereum is massive for me.
So what makes you hold Bitcoin and Ethereum more than anything else? Is it because you believe in them or because the charts?
No, because I believe that they are going to do very well. And I just keep it simple. Like I was buying these things 20 or probably like yourself, through the bear market. And they've returned very good returns. Cardano has been a better return, but I wasn't buying it at 2 or 3, 4 cents. It's been fantastic. It's still vaporware at this point, but because of the market sentiment around it, I think it'll do very, very well until we get anything. But your question is Bitcoin, Ethereum. Man, I noticed from 2017 that if I just kept it simple and just put all of my cash into Bitcoin at the bottom, I'd have more and just left it.
Yeah, but okay, so you're answering my own question basically. Most traders tell me that. A lot won't admit it, but most will tell me that. They're like, George, I've traded all this and I made money, but I calculated had I just bought and held Bitcoin or just held whatever coin, I would have made more. Right? So if that's the case, then why do you continue to trade?
Because I do well on some of the smaller trades. And it's a psychological thing compared to having big positions, trading those big positions, and just having an easy big position and having a small position trading those. And so all I see those are for is, am I going to get more Ethereum and Bitcoin from them? And if I do, I'm out. Say like Zen, I was able to get that $4 or $5, whatever it was, and it was low, very low against Ethereum price and Bitcoin price. When it spiked to some resistance, I just sold that out. So now I have a lot more Bitcoin and Ethereum because of that trade.
So basically, you're trading smaller amounts to build up your position of ETH and BTC, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So then you're a holder. You're doing it right, in my opinion.
The tick of approval, the George tick of approval.
I give you my approval, Jason. I know you're seeking it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I do with all of them. Same with Doge. I do the same thing with Doge. I do the same thing with Doge until the project is proven because of my PTSD from 2017. You know, pretty much 99.9% of them aren't proven, and I'm happy just to trade them to get more BTC and ETH. I did well in 2017 and then also did not do well in some projects, you know, so I kind of traded it and then lost it, but still managed to be up because I got in early.
Right.
And so I wanted to use that experience to see if I can come back bigger and better this time. You know, it's a challenge as well. So that's why I'm like, here's my portfolio. Don't touch that. Leave that. Let me challenge with this other part. And if I can prove myself, then I'll make that part bigger. But new people come in, they come in late, and that is, people usually flip it the other way around. I'll have a small piece of Bitcoin and Ethereum because, you know, I'm late, and I'll use my big part to challenge myself and get all these big profits. And generally, all of that shrinks down, goes to the whales, to the other winners. They end up with the big part again, and these guys end up with a small part. So they come in with the big part, leave with a small part. Maybe they come back, maybe they don't. It looks like most people are coming back because obviously we have higher market caps.
Yeah.
I
mean, I generally agree with you. Not generally. I do agree with you. One of the things I stress about 50-25-25 rule, which is a good portfolio breakup, like 50% in Bitcoin, 25% in big caps, which is all coins above 10 billion, and 25% is mid and small caps. The reason for that is to gain on Bitcoin, to increase your BTC value of your portfolio, because we know that during bull markets, altcoins generally does do better than Bitcoin. And you still have Bitcoin because that's still named a game. It does give you stability, especially with dips. But when things are good, like the big caps, like Ethereum, Cardano, Binance Coin, Dogecoin, even Chainlink, these will outperform Bitcoin. And then the mid and small caps, they could also outperform Bitcoin. And what ends up happening is you look at your overall BTC value of your portfolio, and it's going up. Even though there may be days where the fiat value goes down, but you're still gaining on Bitcoin. And ultimately, that's why I stress that. That's why I still believe Bitcoin is the ultimate store of value. I don't think anything's ever going to challenge that. I do believe it could stay at the biggest market cap forever. And I do think that stacking sats is the way to go. And one way to do it is by holding altcoins. In your case, I think you're saying you could trade, but you could trade or hold altcoins, and both serve the same purpose as long as you know what you're doing. You're basically stacking sats, right? Or stacking ETH. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And the coin has to prove itself that is going to increase in BTC value as BTC increases and over multiple cycles. Because what we can see is that they'll go up in BTC value, then crash. And then they'll go up, but they won't reach the same high. And then they'll crash. And then they'll go up and they won't reach the same high, and then they'll crash. You know?
Right.
So ETH still hasn't proved that it can get above its old all-time highs against Bitcoin. And so that's why I won't just like blindly hold all of it. You got your ETH BTC chart there. Are you going to USD?
Yeah.
That's why I look at the BTC charts, because otherwise I'm better off just holding all Bitcoin in that case.
Right.
That's why I still trade them, but I trade on much longer timeframes because that takes the stress out of it all and the surprise element. So you trade long term, so much easier. You're not playing against all these algorithms and bots and whales and all this stuff. It's just stress free, man. Stress free. That's what you probably preach as well. Easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I preach HODL, buy the dips, dollar cost average. And as long as you invest in the good project, not the meme coins, the hype coins that's coming up, I think you'll do just fine. And many people that have held and bought, the dips like Bitcoin, Ether, even Cardano, and even Dogecoin, even all these things, right? They've gone up so much within the last few years. It makes it all really worth it. And I still believe that's the ultimate way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely buying those lows. When they are down against their BTC value and their solid projects, that's like the ultimate. Buying Cardano when it was down so hard on Satoshi value, that's that's solid.
All right, Jason.
Yeah,
I think that's it. So thanks for coming on, everyone. This is Jason Pizzino. Sorry, I butchered that, but check out his channel.
No, you got it.
Jason Pizzino's channel is I put the link in the description, so check him out. I think we're go do this periodically going forward. It's always nice to chat to someone, so I'm not just chatting to myself. But Bitcoin is still kind of hovering, guys. I know a lot of you guys are anticipating a big jump to 50,000. I still am. Fingers crossed, but remember, 60% of the time I'm right all the time. So we'll see between now and tomorrow. Can we see a big move due to max pain price at options? We'll see. We'll see. So thanks for tuning in. As always, smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and tune in tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Have a good one, guys. Good night.
Thanks for having me. See you later, guys.
Take care, Jason. Bye-bye.